Hey y'all, what's going on? I'm here for the Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 9, the reunion part 1. I apologize for this video, as well as I know Love and Hip Hop Atlanta is late. I've just been having a lot going on with me, just, a lot of stress or whatever. But, yeah, so I definitely am going to try to get these videos to you guys as soon as possible. But I don't really care to talk about like the looks or nothing like that. So if you guys want to talk about who was your favorite look in this reunion, you guys can put that down below and everything. And yeah, we started off with them pretty much talking about the activities that the ladies have done together throughout the season and everything. I don't really care to talk about that segment too much because it was just more talk about camel toe, Candy. She done finally got a boob job herself or whatever, and a whole bunch of other bullshit that I don't care about. So let's start it off with the segment about More Manor versus Shatu Sheree. So they take a recap of that, Kenya and Sheree throwing shade at each other throughout the whole season about their houses or whatever. And Andy, he mentions how Kenya was on Watch What Happens Live and how Kenya was saying that Sheree was not living in her house or whatever. And Sheree is like, yeah, I live in my house. Like, where would she get that from or whatever? Now, I mean, we've been seeing in the blogs, continuously that Sheree has not been living in there. If you guys watch Forest Rocks, she says that, she has, like, I guess, like, friends or whatever who done drove past the house and it looked like she's not really living in there or something like that. So, I mean, don't give me the line. I don't know. Because I don't live in Atlanta, but yeah. So anyways, Kenya, she's like, well, I drive by her house all day and all night long, and there are never any lights on or whatever, this, that, and the third. And I'm just looking at her like, do you know how much of a creep you sound right now? Like, you sound like a motherfucker Peeper Tom, okay? With that bullshit, talking about something, you driving past her house all day, all night long. But anyway, so Andy, she was like, Andy, he's like, Kim kind of came for you or whatever when you was in Sheree's basement and everything. Like, why do you think that was? And, she's like, because Kim needs a check and everything, which I can agree with because Kroy's not working right now. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, despite the fact that he got 20 mil in the bank and everything, if you're not managing that shit, wisely, that shit could be gone just like that. So anyways, he's asking about Candy's reaction to the whole situation between Kim and Kenya. And Candy, she's like, I thought it was hilarious. Like, I was trying not to laugh because I was, I was like, oh Lord, I was in the basement too. Don't nobody come for me. You know what I'm saying? And some of the other YouTubers did point out that they didn't come for Candy when, she was knowing that she was in the basement as well as Kenya. They just all kind of came for Kenya and everything. Like as if Candy was, like she wasn't down there too. But anyways, Kenya, she admits to being shady by going into the basement. That's why she took Candy down there. Because, she's like, Sheree was acting like the city inspector in her apartment. I mean, in her house or whatever. And, how Sheree was saying that, she wasn't going to move until she was completely done. So for the basement not to be done, she just wanted to, kind of pick or whatever. Which, like I said, I understand, because once again, Sheree was coming at Kenya about her house and shit like that. So it's just, payback, whatever. So, Kenya, she's throwing some more digs at Sheree or whatever, talking about, the fake marble she has in her house. Sheree sitting up here saying how she could put 2 of her homes in, Kenya's house or whatever. I mean, how she could put 2 of Kenya's homes in her house. And, Kenya's like, well, at least I paid for mines and blah, blah, blah. And I don't have no tax liens or nothing like that. And Sheree is like, well, at least I had toilets for my contractors or whatever, this, that, and the third. And they was like, oh, you ain't have no toilets for your contractors? Where was they going to, pee at and everything? And Kenya was like, girl, it was an oversight or whatever, and they removed it, but you still have all your tax liens and everything. And, Andy asks, have they both paid their contractors? And Kenya is like, I paid mines and everything. And Sheree is like, I paid the ones that needed to be paid. I guess that's why you in the blogs now about not paying contractors. Because you picking and choosing which ones you feel like deserve to be paid. But anyways, Then they start talking about how they got similar lights, and it's just like, why are we still on this? And you know, Kenya calls Sheree a bitch or whatever at some point, and saying something about how I still gotta pay for it and blah blah blah. And Cynthia, she tries to interject and was like, well, look, child, you know, both of y'all houses look great and everything, you know, the light in both of y'all houses look great or whatever. You know, Sheree sitting up here talking about this African prince that everybody's saying that Kenya still has, and you know, Kenya's like that she doesn't have an African prince to, you know, pay for no shit for her. Portia, she decides to interject or whatever, and talking about how, you know, Kenya needed her car fixed or whatever, and she was going to try to get the African to give her some money or whatever, and she was going to try to use the money to buy a new car instead of just fixing the one that she got. So he wasn't, you know, trying to give her the money or whatever, this, that, and the third. And I'm with Andy like, bitch, how you know all this motherfucking shit considering you don't fuck with Kenya? Like, I'm trying to understand here. And you know, Portia, she's sitting here talking about I got the African connection and all this other stuff, and I'm just like, but wasn't the first person y'all was accusing of having an African prince is Kenya? So isn't she the connection? I'm just asking, you know. So anyways, you know, Portia, she's like, true tea, bitch, or whatever. Because Kenya had said something, I guess, trying to, you know, diffuse what the fuck Portia was saying. Or dispute what the fuck Portia was saying. And, you know, Kenya says that she's self-made. And, you know, and that's a fact or whatever. Like, they just kept on saying, and that's a fact. And that's a fact throughout the whole, you know, this whole part one. And, you know, Kenya says at the end of the day, Sheree's home is beautiful. No matter how much time it took her, it's a beautiful home and everything. It's just not her taste or whatever. And saying how their feud is silly or whatever. And it's very silly. And y'all need that. I hope y'all don't keep talking about this shit next season, because I'm really not going to be here for it at all. So anyways, the next segment is, you know, Andy talks about Phaedra trying to be the peacemaker. You know, how she had that restoration for the ladies, how her and Kenya came together, and some other stuff or whatever. So, you know, somebody had wrote in the question pretty much asking, you know, was Phaedra just trying to do that restoration to get all the ladies to, you know, be cool with Portia or whatever, or like, you know, what was it really about? So, you know, Phaedra, she feels like there was a lot of unresolved issues or whatever in regards to the ladies, and the restoration wasn't just about Portia. Whatever. So, you know, she's just like how she just wants them to do positive things and all this other stuff. And, you know, Andy is like, well, are there some relationships that can't be saved? Because, you know, it seemed like, you know, you and Candy just kind of coexist at this point and everything. And, you know, Phaedra talking about anything is possible with the power of God. And, you know, says that, you know, you don't know what can happen in the future. And she's very optimistic. And Candy feels like it's bullshit. And, you know, she's saying that she feels like it's bullshit because every time Phaedra is on camera, she's always, you know, talking about being positive. But every time, you know, they cut the cameras and Phaedra thinks that she's not being recorded anymore, she's up here saying some crazy shit. Which we all have kind of seen. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, you know, Phaedra, she's saying, you know, that she's going to do the whole camp thing with Flint again, and how she wants to do it in Atlanta as well. She still keeps in touch with the kids, and I do think that's good or whatever. Despite the fact how I've been feeling about Phaedra this season, I do like seeing her do stuff like this. Kenya, she's proud of Phaedra or whatever, and the work that she's been doing in Detroit and everything. And, you know, somebody wrote in the question pretty much calling out Kenya on how, you know, Sheree donated more money to Phaedra's camp than Kenya did and everything. And, you know, are you going to admit that the Check Me Boo t-shirts are more profitable than your hair products? And Kenya just kind of dances around the question or whatever and talks about how charitable she is and everything, and how Nene never matched her with the Detroit public schools or wherever that shit was they had going on. And, you know, Portia is like, was it Portia or Sheree? One of them, it might have been, I think it was Sheree, you know, that was like, I mean, did she answer the question or whatever? Like I said, she was just pretty much ice skating around the motherfucking question. She didn't give a direct answer. So anyways, you know, they asked Candy about, you know, her helping Phaedra or whatever, and you know, Candy says that she's always she always gives to charity, so she didn't mind helping, even though she got an acknowledgement letter that only said $500. And Phaedra was like, you know, my people got in touch with your people. Well, no, your people got in touch with my people. It was a typo or whatever. We fixed it, and I have the email to prove it. And they was like, oh, you got the receipts, honey, and everything, this, that, and third, whatever. So then we get the divorce party fiasco / Phaedra and Kenya's potential friendship. So, you know, they, you know, give us a look back at that or whatever. And, you know, Kenya is like that she never wanted Apollo and everything. And, you know, for Phaedra to sit up here and say that, oh, well, maybe she could finally have Apollo now, whatever, that just shows where her heart is and everything. And, you know, Kenya is like, it all started, like, our falling out did not start with Apollo. It started out with a business venture that we had, you know what I'm saying, that didn't go well or whatever. And she was like, you know what, I admit to the fact that I should have stopped texting him once that situation happened, despite the fact that even though the conversation was friendly or whatever. So pretty much Kenya was taking responsibility for her part in the shit or whatever, you know what I'm saying. And, you know, a caller, I mean, not a caller, but somebody had asked the question, pretty much asking Phaedra, do you feel bad about calling Kenya names after Apollo pretty much vindicated her about those text messages not being, you know, on some I'm trying to fuck you type of shit, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, for the fact that you didn't believe her. And, you know, Phaedra is like, you know, I mean, she was texting my husband. That's a fact. Or whatever. Here we go with that that's a fact thing. And she brings up the Anguilla trip and how, you know, Kenya was talking about a threesome and everything. And Kenya was like, I mean, I asked everybody about that. I mean, honestly, Kenya, I mean, I don't really remember if you did ask everybody else about that shit, because only thing I can remember is you asking Phaedra about Apollo and, you know, and having the threesome and shit like that. But anyways, you know, she's like, why are you trying to make an old storyline a new one and everything? And, you know, Phaedra is like, I'm not or whatever. And Kenya is like, you are, because you bringing this shit up. And, you know, we already got through this. You know, we already got past all of that. And Phaedra is like, you know, why can I be upset about something that happened, especially you throwing me this divorce party when I never said I was divorced, but you never. And once again, it's not really none of their business or whatever, but at the same time, they didn't know either. You know what I mean? So, sorry y'all, gotta get that H2O up in me. But anyways, so, you know, Kenya's like, I mean, your husband is the real issue here. And, you know, Phaedra's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. And, you know, Kenya, once again, brings up, you know, that time that they prayed together or whatever. And Phaedra's like, it still don't change what happened, whatever. And she was like, I mean, honestly, she said, no, Phaedra was saying that, you know, that situation with Apollo is what broke up their friendship or whatever. And once again, Phaedra, like Kenya said, y'all fell out over, when y'all first fell out over that motherfucking video. You feel what I'm saying? And, you know, Phaedra is, you know, sitting up here saying how the shit with Kenya is always going to be a sensitive issue for her or whatever. Well, why continue to be friends with her? I mean, why sit up here and try to start a friendship with her or whatever if you're never going to get over it and you want to keep on bringing it up every time she do something that you don't like? Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, you could just be cordial with her if that's the case. Like, but don't sit up here and act like you over it, doing all this praying bullshit. And then the minute she do something that you didn't like, instead of just, you know, well, I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to get to that. So, anyways, you know, Kenya is like, you were calling me a drunk and saying I was bipolar because I had made my video or whatever. And Phaedra is saying that she drinks like a fish. And Kenya is like, you know, I do not drink like that or whatever. And you're the same old boring person since I've been on the show. And Phaedra is like, okay, well, keep fucking men in the back of a truck. And I'm just like, ooh, point for Phaedra. And so then, you know, Andy is asking Portia about her opinion, and Portia is like, you know, she felt like the divorce party was distasteful. You felt like the shit was distasteful, but you still was participating in the shit. And then even once you left Phaedra's room, you went back down there with them. So like, girl, really? Anyways, so she feels like it was distasteful only because Kenya and Phaedra wasn't like that or whatever. And it feels as though Kenya should have came to either her or even Candy to see if that was, you know, a logical thing to do. And Kenya's like, girl, like, you know, I like how y'all trying to sit up here and act like as if this shit was just for Phaedra. It was for Cynthia as well. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't just singling out Phaedra or whatever. And Cynthia, she says that she wasn't really with the whole divorce party thing either, but she doesn't feel like Kenya was being spiteful. And, you know, they bring up Sheree having her divorce party or whatever, but Sheree was like, yeah, I did it for myself or whatever, and you just have to be in that space to, you know, for one, neither one of them was divorced or whatever, and two, you know, you just have to be in that space or whatever to, you know, be able to do something like that. You know what I'm saying? And speaking of divorces, from my understanding, I don't know if I mentioned this to y'all before, but Cynthia and Peter ain't divorced either. Like, y'all did all this fake reaction and all, you know, heartfelt reaction type of shit just for y'all to just be now going through the divorce proceedings, child. I can't deal. So anyways, Phaedra, she says like that whole situation with her throwing a divorce party wasn't a roadblock in her in their relationship or whatever. She was just expressing how she felt or whatever. But it's like Kenya said, like, girl, you sat up here and called her trifling. You don't think that's a roadblock or whatever, instead of just, you know, like I said, you know what I'm saying, telling her, I mean, instead of you handling the situation like how Cynthia handled it and just telling her like, girl, I don't really want to say no, you know, call this no divorce party or whatever and everything, you know, I'm not comfortable with that. You sat up here and decided to leave and not say nothing at all or whatever, and go to your room and then text Portia calling Kenya trifling and all this other stuff. Like, how do you not think that was going to be a roadblock for y'all? So, you know, Phaedra was like, well, it was trifling and everything. And Kenya is like, you know, you're attacking me for something we already got past. You're living two different lives. And, you know, you can sit up here and, you know, laugh and kiki with Portia or whatever. But then, also, too, when the cameras come on, you want to see how the public is going to react or whatever, this, that, and the third. And, you know, how she's trying to keep up false images. And, you know, she's calling Phaedra a freak hoe or whatever. And, you know, Kenya is like, you should have, you know, just said something to me about it the way Cynthia did and everything. And Phaedra was like that she still feels like, you know, Kenya was making fun or whatever. And, you know, Kenya pretty much says that Phaedra is full of shit. And, you know, it is what it is. Phaedra says that her and Kenya, they had a good time in Flint or whatever. So she don't care about, you know, Kenya having no beef with her, because she don't have no beef with Kenya. And, you know, like, once again, Phaedra says that she don't think that the friendship was over or whatever. And, you know, Phaedra just wasn't here for, you know, praying with Kenya at the time that Kenya wanted to pray. But at the same time, Phaedra, like, once again, if you sit up here and call yourself a Christian, you can't just pick and choose when you want to fucking pray. Like, girl. So anyways, Andy asked, you know, Phaedra, would she pray with Kenya now? And Phaedra is like, you know, she asked me, I would, and everything. And Kenya was like, I didn't ask, or whatever. And, you know, Andy is like, you know, you don't want to pray? And, you know, Kenya was like, no, I'm good. I don't have my sage with me to remove all the evil spirits and all this other nonsense. So next up, and I think this is the last segment for this part, is Portia's anger management. So Portia, you know, says that her anger management is going good, and, you know, she just uses it as therapy for her at this point and everything. And, you know, they bring up that whole situation when Kenya had brought, you know, the anger management to Portia's attention or whatever. And you know, Portia, she claims that she was okay with Kenya bringing it up until, you know, she had said that Phaedra said that she was going to share it with them or whatever. So she thought Kenya was lying and everything. And Portia, she, you know, called Phaedra to address, you know, her when she saw the episode and realized that Phaedra was lying. And you know, how Phaedra apologized and they got past that or whatever. And you know, Phaedra explains how she was just coming from a good place, and you know, she wanted, you know, the ladies to know that Portia is trying to, you know, make changes and everything, this, that, and the third. And you know, Andy was like, well, I mean, Portia, you kind of flipped out or whatever. And Portia is like, no, I didn't. And Kenya's like, you know, yeah, you did. And Portia, you know, she's explaining how, you know, Kenya was throwing digs and everything, sitting up here saying, was she on medication? Was she on this? Was she on that? And you know, she was like, I got up and left versus putting my hands on somebody or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like how I would have in the past or whatever. And you know, Andy, he says to, you know, Kenya, like, well, you did get up and follow her or whatever, and that does seem kind of provoking and everything. Kenya claims that she doesn't provoke anybody, and you know, Kenya, she brings up, you know, some of the other ladies' past anger issues or whatever. And you know, Portia, she is like, well, you provoked the situation with me, and you know, you provoked other situations or whatever, this, that, and the third. And she calls Kenya an evil, angry person or whatever. And you know, Kenya admits that she should have stayed where she was at, but she don't feel like it warrants an apology. So you can apologize to Phaedra about, you know what I'm saying, and apologize for other shit that you might have done or whatever, but you never can apologize to Portia when, you know what I'm saying, like, she never can apologize to Portia when she does some shit that's out of pocket or not right to her. You feel what I'm saying? I don't know what it is, but she just never can own up to her shit when it comes to her. So anyways, you know, okay, I'm sorry, I was trying to read my notes. So somebody asked, you know, Phaedra, you know, why don't you never stick up for Portia when people are coming for her? And Phaedra sitting up here saying, like, you know, I'm not going to be acting a fool in public because of my job and blah, blah, blah. I mean, girl, you ain't got to be sitting up here acting the damn fool to stick up for your friend. You know what I'm saying? You could sit up here and say, hey, you know, don't be talking to her like that. Or, you know, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You could even be calm with the shit. You know what I'm saying? But for you to just not say nothing at all and just be sitting up there sipping your little whatever you having to drink or whatever, like, girl, see, no. And Phaedra, I mean, not Phaedra, Portia, she, you know, she says that, you know, Phaedra has her way about her or whatever, and that they did talk about that and everything. And Candy, like, why do you keep on making excuses for her and everything? And she's like, you know, that whole situation could have got squashed if Phaedra would have just said from Jump Street, I did tell Kenya that and everything. Maybe you would have had a different perspective on the conversation that we was having in regards to your anger management. And, you know, then, you know, for Portia to sit up here and actually see the tapes played back, you know what I'm saying, and to still be like defending her is like, you know, what the fuck, you know what I'm saying, like, you act like it's nothing. And Portia, she's like, well, I called her because that's the type of person I am. And Candy is like, no the fuck it's not. Like, when it comes to me and you, we didn't start this season off beefing and everything. And, you know, Portia feels like that she had no reason to call Candy. Candy is like, no, if you felt like I did something to you, you should have gave me the same courtesy call you did to Phaedra or whatever. And Portia's like, well, Phaedra is my friend and everything. Portia, you is fake as fuck, because you and Candy never had, before all of this shit transpired, you and Candy never had no real situation for you to even sit up here and be coming at her the way you be coming at her. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like I told y'all before a few times, this all, in my opinion, stems from when Phaedra and Candy first fell out. Portia kept on interjecting herself, but was being on Phaedra's side, acting like as if Candy just ain't never been there for her. Candy ain't never do shit for her. It's like, both of these bitches is your friends. You should have just stayed neutral. You sit up here picking sides and shit like that, and in my opinion, you picking the wrong motherfucker side, because this bitch don't never stick up for you and everything. She be saying little slick slide shit about you, you know what I'm saying? And you don't even catch on to it or whatever. Like girl, what? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so she's still saying, you know, Kandi is like, you know, so we wasn't cool or whatever. Like, when did we fall out or whatever? And, you know, Portia's still trying to make justifications for this bullshit or whatever. And, you know, somebody, you know, tells Kenya that she needs to seek therapy for the verbal abuse that she be throwing at Portia or whatever. And Kenya is like, this woman just called me a bitch and everything on this stage. And Portia is like, didn't you just call Sheree a bitch not too long ago? And they show the playback. Of course, Kenya then fell and bumped her motherfucking head too, because she don't recall calling Sheree a bitch and everything. And, you know, Kenya says that she has suffered verbal abuse from all the abuse from all the ladies except for Kandi and Cynthia. And somebody, you know, says that they feel like Kandi has anger issues as well. Kandi, she's like, you know, don't start nothing, won't be nothing. And, you know, Portia, she's sitting up here trying to act like she's the expert on anger management all of a sudden. Kandi still doesn't believe that Portia's doing anger management. And Portia, she's like, you know, whenever I do something to better myself, it's always this negativity. When are y'all gonna celebrate? Kandi is like, girl, Biden always stuck up for you or whatever. I gave you money for the Celebrity Apprentice. And, you know, Portia is like, so everything you do gives you the right to treat someone like shit and to belittle them. Like, I don't never really recall Kandi treating Portia like shit. Like, yeah, maybe as far as this season goes, when it came to the whole anger management situation, maybe Kandi could have been a little bit more positive, but just straight up treating you like shit, I don't recall. But, you know, Portia is like that she's not going to be brought into not speaking up to Kandi and all this other bullshit. That pretty much was the part one of the reunion or whatever. I apologize for this video being so long, but make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys come back, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.